Yeah, sorry, I was just at lost thinking about Paco.
And she was like, is it because of the Bombers?
It's Conspiracy Corner every day from here till December.
I don't know how many times I'm going to apologise, but BZT was good.
He moves in mysterious ways. Up the plains.
It's Don's footy, baby.
Junior gets the nod. Langford trialled at halfback. Shield hits game 200 and footy's back. It's round one. Let's go. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you. And joining me on satellite is Mr. Ryan Gallagher himself. Hello, mate.
Hey, Rob. Very excited with the footy to kick off in about 40 minutes from now. So couldn't be more pumped. How are you?
I'm good. I'm the same. I've been pretty G'd up to watch footy tonight, even though it is two teams I detest, but I'm very excited to be watching the real thing once again. And joining us for the first time in 2023 is Damo Ryan, a.k.a. Smart Damo. Hello, mate.
G'day, Bob. You'd think getting married and going on a honeymoon was the most exciting thing for 2023 for me, but it's probably coming on this pod and getting ready to play Hawthorn this weekend. Do not tell my wife; she does not listen to the pod.
Oh, great. There's definitely a lot of, girlfriend and wife trash talk in this podcast because everyone knows that none of them are listening. None of them are ever going to tune in. They're never going to tune in.
The only time I take my wedding ring off is to do the pod.
I love it. Let's get stuck into things, guys. The news of the week, it sort of trickled through late this afternoon, and I'm still trying to get my read on the whole thing, but I'll give a quick brief of what I've gathered from media sources. But there seems to be a bit of a rift between old mate Adrian Dodoro, the Dodo, some people call him, and Josh Marnie. And from what I'm gathering from what I've read is that now both of them have to Marnie would have been reporting to Vozzo anyway, but Dodoro is now reporting to Vozzo, our new CEO, instead of reporting to Josh Marnie. Brad Scott obviously reports to the CEO as well. It's a funny one. I guess it's one way of saying there is clearly a rift between these two people. I learnt today that Dodoro was part of the match committee last year, which some people may not like, some people may be okay with. And now they're changing the way they go about it. Vozzo's putting his stamp on the whole thing, and we haven't even kicked a ball officially yet, and we might be talking about another person, getting the chop, whoever that may be. Initial thoughts on this, Ryan?
It's not the best timing. I mean, after all the shit we've been through in the off season, we should have just got this done earlier. I know Vozzo hasn't been in for too long, but geez, not what I want to be hearing, the day that the teams are coming out. But I mean, he's well regarded in the industry, so if he's making these changes, we just got to back him in. Dodoro in the match committee, I'm not sure if that's a normal thing. Because he could play favourites to certain players who, haven't been performing well and give them extra time just to make him look better. But look, I don't want to comment too much on that because I don't understand, how those roles sort of play at most clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Damo, your thoughts on all this news?
Obviously, great news. The club seems aligned. We seem like we're all on the straight and narrow, sort of all willing to work together seamlessly, harmoniously for the common goal of winning a premiership. So to have two petulant children, one being our list manager, the other one being director of footy, not getting along and not being able to swallow their pride, it's not great, obviously. The only reservations I have is sort of Xavier Campbell a few years ago, I think, got caught getting a bit too heavily involved in the footy stuff when he was the CEO, and he got caught making comments about the footy thing. So I get a bit nervous when CEOs sort of probably control too much footy stuff, and you should leave it and have trust in the personnel you've got in your footy department. But I get a bit nervous about Josh Marnie. He leaves Melbourne. I'm not 100% sold on him. You look at really stable footy clubs and footy departments of sort of over the years, Geelongs, your Sydneys, your Hawthorn, Richmond. These sort of guys have pretty strong guys leading their footy department, and it's obviously so far from ideal, but yeah, I feel like either Dodoro or Marnie will probably no longer be at the club probably by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's my read on it. Which one of it is, I don't know. Is it one? Is it both? Look, not sure. I think if Marnie's not having Dodoro report to him, I think that's not a good sign for Marnie's future. And Vozo is enacting this change, and obviously there was a lot of change that we had late last year, but I guess there's still plenty more to play out. Everything I do hear about Craig Vozo is good. Everyone I've spoken to who has met him, everyone who knows him through business practices that I've spoken to, just such high regard for Craig Vozo. And he's a big football person is what I'm being told. So like you said before, Ryan, I'm backing him in. I'm backing him to make the changes that we need. If you have to shed a little bit more blood from some old people who've been around, then maybe so be it. Like, we've hung around long enough just doing the same thing. So look, it's interesting. It's terrible timing. It's very Essington. So, yeah, just another great thing that we get to enjoy on the road to round one. Let's just jump into it, boys. The team is out. Few picks that I wasn't predicting based on what we'd seen in pre-season, but we'll go through it now. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go line by line and then I'll just get your thoughts on the people selected. We'll start with the fullbacks, which I think we probably knew who it was going to be. Mason Redman, Jordan Ridley, Brandon Thatcher. I'll throw to you first, Ryan. Thoughts on any or all of them?
Happy. That's perfect.
That's it. Dame?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, Ryan.
Look, I think it's big year for BZT because him playing well is going to release Ridley to do what he does best. So really excited to see how he performs against Hawthorn. Should give him a good opportunity to get some confidence early on. But if he has a mare, I'll be a little bit concerned. But yeah, it's the next line I was more interested in. But yeah, Damo?
Yeah, I think he raised a good point. BZT, he's probably... he finished the season well, but there are some nervous moments with him. We obviously probably prefer blooding Zach Reid when he's ready in that position anyway. But if BZT can free up Ridley to go back to the 2020-2021 form, rather than Ridley having to play quite a considerable shutdown role, that can only work favourably for us because Jordan Ridley, whilst I think polled well in our BNF, as a supporter, you just never saw what we wanted out of him as that intercept marker, that third tall, and someone that could sort of get the ball moving more offensively for us. He was quite a negating backman. So hopefully BZT can lighten the load on Ridley this year.
Yep. No, totally agree. We'll go to the halfbacks. Nick Hind, Jaden Laverty, and Andy McGrath. I was surprised to see Hindy selected, if I'm being honest with you. Hadn't featured a great deal in pre-season. I was feeling like it might have been D'Ambrosio getting selected ahead of him, obviously with McGrath back there. And then Kyle Langford was playing halfback in the VFL last week, and I was hearing whispers that this might be his new position. And I was like, oh, wow, Hindy might be squeezed out. But Hindy's in the side. Give him a crack. So I'm happy to see it. And then Laverty, we know he's one of the first names on the team sheet these days. And then Andy McGrath, who it's time to stand up, buddy, because Lord knows we need to see some big performances out of him. What do you think about the halfbacks, Dame?
Yeah, well, I'd probably see D'Ambrosio being the rotation off the bench for the back six. So it probably makes sense. And Hind at his best is definitely in our 22. And hopefully we just get a bit more offensively with both McGrath and Hind coming off the back half. But yeah, I think the bloke with him, the most amount of heat on him this year is probably Andy McGrath on the list. So hopefully he can just get some real consistency in his game. He was back pocket, on ball, half back, now back to half back. And if you can't play good footy in the AFL on half back, then you're in real strife. So I've got my fingers and toes crossed for Andrew McGrath this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think like that's the thing. We all want him to do well. Like it's not as though people are sitting here being like, "Oh, we're sick of the guy." It's like we want you to get there. We want you to go that extra mile. We want you to become a top AFL player and not just a top Essendon player. And this is back to his natural position. So yeah, fingers crossed that he can get the job done. And then our centre line, Dyson Heppel on the wing, Zachy Merritt, Dylan Shield. Surprised to see Dyson Heppel. I was suspecting that injuries might have been hanging over his head. He might not have gotten up for round one. But he's here, he's playing, and he's in the list. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably more of the optics he gets picked on the field. The fact that Nick Martin's on the bench. For me, it's sort of, is Sam Durham? Durham's injured.
Yeah, half.
Oh, no, he's at half forward. Yeah, Durham's in at half forward. So I think when we're at our best, for like premiership contention in a year or two or three or four or never, Martin, Cox and Durham would probably be my preferred wings. But yeah, I think Heppel's there just for the optics of the ex-captain's not starting on the bench, listed on the bench on his way out type thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Dylan Shield, game 200 for him. Obviously a fair chunk of those at GWS. Where do you guys see Dylan's year going? Because I thought it was okay last season. And if he stays fit, who knows? Do you think Dylan Shield has the ability to get back to that top form that he once had at GWS, like all Australian levels? Do we think he's get there, or is that a thing of the past?
I don't know if he's going to get to that peak GWS form, but I think he can get close and have a really good contribution in his role with the team. His pace as well. That's something that I'm sure he hasn't lost and will come in handy. But 200, it's a fair crack. So hopefully he performs well and the whole team does for him.
Yep.
And credit where credit's due. Dylan Shield got severely challenged by the competition, by the media, by the public halfway through last year, and he did turn his season around, and I thought his output was significantly better. So that shows a high level of maturity and courage from my point of view. So I just hope he's sort of carried that confidence into the off season. He obviously starts round one every year looking like the most ripped human being on earth.
So ripped.
I really hope he just has a good first 2 or 3 games and just flows. I don't expect much from him. His foot skills aren't incredible. I just hope it just carries on a little bit and he doesn't go in his shell and loses all of his confidence that he worked hard to get at the end of last year.
Sorry to interrupt here, Rob, but I noticed a bit of discrepancy in the team lineups on afl.com.au, and then the clubs just sent out a notification with an update. Team's a little bit different. So they've got they've got Kelly replacing Hind, so Hind's not even on the bench.
Oh, okay. Kelly's replacing Hind. All right.
Yeah, so that's why before when I said it was the half back line that I was a little bit more concerned about, because I would prefer the dashing Hind or D'Ambrosio coming off that half back. I just feel like Kelly's a bit of a liability when we're leaving our defensive 50. So yeah, I think there's been some changes.
There've been some changes, and the great man Luke, who's helped me with graphics, has also spelt Sam Wiedemann's name wrong, which is why I've been looking at my phone for the past 10 minutes trying to fix that. So Wiedemann, as we've written here.
Ma'am.
And I think I'm looking at my messages now. I think Luke's just, there you go. They took Hind off and put Kelly in. Yeah, I was letting him know. Maybe we go with a new post, I reckon. There you go. Live updates here on the pod. Jake Kelly.
There's a lot of Zovo about you, Rob, with your leadership right now.
Yeah. Just delegate. Yeah.
And I'm Marty.
You, Marty.
Mertz Dodoro for sure.
Oh, yeah. You won't be able to get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the Essendon. Whoever, I'm assuming maybe the social media kid. I don't know who it was responsible for putting that team up. But anyway, we've all been stooged, but that's okay. Jake Kelly remaining in half back. We'll touch on him quickly before we
which
continue
means
on the
Hind
half
completely
forwards.
misses the
Yes.
squad.
There you go. So Hind's not in the squad at all, which was again, what we had suspected prior, going by what we'd seen in the practice matches. Obviously not good for Hine. He's got to work his way back in. Kelly, like, I'm not sold on Kelly. I know what he can do without ball. With ball is my issue. I know he can stop. I know he can stop guys from scoring, but modern AFL football, you've got to be able to do both. Like, having good users in your backline is how you generate score. And Kelly just isn't that. Like, I don't think he goes to risky kicks. I don't think he really takes the game on. And if he does, it's seldom that we see something really impactful. So he's got a lot to do for mine. He's probably the guy in that back six whose position I think is, most up for grabs from other players. So that's my take on Kelly.
Definitely. And potentially they want him to do, a lockdown role on whether it's a Wingard or Bruce. So that could be potentially the reason, he cracked the team.
Yep.
I also feel like with Kelly though, the less I see Kelly and the more I see Ridley in a game, I then feel like the more Kelly's doing in a way that he's allowing Ridley to do more, be on less attacking or dangerous players. So the way I see it is I don't care for what Kelly does with or without the ball. If it means Ridley gets 20, 25 touches in the game and they're not just kick-ins, I'd probably see that as like he's had a bit of freedom to do what he wants on the field. And last year we didn't really have BZT until late, so Kelly, Laverde, BZT can be more of your big shutdown and hopefully frees up Ridley. But again, I'm with you. It makes me a bit nervous.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. If we can free up our better users, Ridley, I guess Redmond, I wouldn't call McGrath a good user, but he can prove us wrong. Half forwards, Sam Durham, Big Sammy Wiedemann, aka Chufta, and Kyle Langford. We'll start with Langers. So I got the word. Anyone who went to the VFL practice match did, but I got a word that Kyle Langford may have been running at halfback, and he was running at halfback. Some people said he was okay. Some people said he was terrible. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I was like, that's an interesting thing. Are they going to persist with it? He's been named at half forward, which means nothing, but could we see Kyle Langford venturing to halfback during this game? Do you guys think that is possible, or was this just a one-off fluke in a practice match to see if it works? Because it's an interesting one.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd much prefer him to be in that forward line. He's got a reliable set shot kick. He's got the height to go through the midfield if he does get to retain a few midfield minutes. But look, I won't shut it down, because when we said we're moving Laverde back, I thought, what in the hell are we doing? And that's worked out pretty well. So, with all the word that's been coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him there for a part of the game.
I'd be personally a bit disappointed because 2021, he showed a huge amount of development, and I thought he was really good. And when he went down against Geelong for a massive hamstring, that was like car crash number 5 that day. But he was really good, and he's a massive key for us in terms of he's a crafty forward. He's a reliable set shot. He's essentially our third tall up forward. So he provides Wiedemann a bit of it takes the load off Wiedemann as well, because he can lead up into those wings as an outlet kick for the defensive half. So for me, if I see him back, I'll be like, why are you playing with something that we need so much structurally? Yeah,
exactly. Or like, he played so well. He played so well in that role, and I still think he's got a lot of utility in the guts, which we saw, flashes of. And as Ryan's dog chimes in.
Apologies.
What does your dog think about Kyle Langford? Quickly.
Why is Mert at your house?
Yeah, that's a good one. He's so good. I think as an outlet forward option. He's one of our better set shots at goal. He pops up for a good Kyle Langford game is like 20 touches and a couple of goals, and that's what you need from some players. And I feel like Maybe Perkins is someone else who could do that on a good day, but there isn't anyone else who really can do that consistently. So yeah, my preference is to stay forward. I guess Nick Martin's probably the other one, but big Sammy Wiedemann, the big chuff, rolling in at centre half forward. I've liked what I've seen so far in preseason. He gets a crack. He can make it his own. He doesn't have to worry about Tom McDonald or Ben Brown stealing his position, and hopefully he can go into another level. You got a Bombers toothbrush there, Ryan?
Yeah, Gemma's just come home from Coles and she's bought me a pair of Essendon toothbrushes. So
marry her.
Season is on. Season is on.
Let's go.
Let's go. I forgot what I was saying. I mean,
so we're talking about Sammy Wiedemann. So
yeah,
look, I'm excited. I mean, we've got a fresh recruit, highly touted, underperforming. I think he played pretty well in the Pracky game, presented well, looked strong. So I just want to see how him and Seven Seater work together as well, because it's going to be a big adjustment for Peter as well. So I hope it doesn't impact him too much. But look, I'm excited, but who knows? Monday might come around. I'll absolutely turn on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, the last thing we want is Wright and Wiedemann to be getting each other's way, and
Correct.
bringing their man into the pack and all of that kind of stuff. If it works well, it means that Peter Wright isn't taking every single defender like he was at points last season because we just had nothing else. Interestingly, we've seen Harry Jones is listed as on the bench in the extended squad. He may be in, he may not be in, which is going to be one of the real interesting things we'll find out. But Weeds, he's number 2. He's number 2 forward now. Like, if he's playing round 1, that's how they see him. So he's taken Harry Jones's spot already as number 2. Whether or not Harry can make the number 3 position his own, I'm not quite sure yet. But yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully it's a good year for Sammy. What do you reckon, Dame?
It's exactly what you're sort of saying, Rob, is I'm not sure what the forward line chemistry and how it's going to be, because you probably don't see Wiedemann, Langford, Wright and Jones all in the same team in the same week. If you have those 4, because there's Perkins, Durham, Davey, Menzies, Tip and Woody. So you're rattling off a fair few names. So I'm very intrigued to see the combination of smalls to talls that they go with. Is it 2 talls, 4 smalls, or 3 smalls, Langford plus 2 talls that they've probably got sort of set aside now? Or do they try and stretch Bill with Jones, Wright, Wiedemann, and then just rely heavily on Davey or Menzies or Tip and Woody to be the smalls? So I haven't seen enough of any of them to really say this is what I think the best sort of combination would be. I'm more just really intrigued to see how they gel and how it sort of transpires over the year.
Yeah, no,
it does take a while for key forwards to gel together, know their running patterns, where each other are. So yeah, I think the first few weeks could be tough watching, but you never know. They could have been doing a fair bit of work in the preseason.
Might be a stupid answer, but I'll just a big question. Sorry, but I'll ask it anyway. Backup Ruckman, is Peter going to be the one to go in, or do we think Chorfoot might go in there at some point?
I think we'd probably prefer to use Wiedemann.
You reckon, Dame?
Yeah, it's a good one. Do you look after Peter Wright as much as you can and keep him deep, or do you sort of trust that he is an ex-ruckman and he's probably going to provide a bit more craft around stoppages than Wiedemann? So that probably falls under that match committee of what they're going to prioritise in terms of, do you protect or do you sort of have a bit of a 2-prong attack? So again, I haven't probably seen enough of Sam Wiedemann in that rucking position to say whether he's a liability there and we just lose every clearance or not.
What do you think, Adrian Dodora? You're on the match committee. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Get them all in.
Get them all in.
Get Shield in there. Get McGrath in the ruck. Just go for it.
Just throw it, yeah.
But I am excited about the next guy, though.
Yeah. Big does, little does. Sammy Durham. love the way he goes about it. I think he's been one of the real great stories from Essendon over the last few years, and there hasn't been many. But he's in there. I think still needs to work a bit on his ball use, but he's a hard on your sleeve type player, just throws himself at it, just complete disregard for his own well-being, which you just love to see from a guy like that. And yeah, I just like the way he goes about it. So I'm stoked to see him returning his spot on the side.
Yeah, he puts his head over the pedal. He brings the intensity, and he leads away with that. So I like him. I like Duzza.
Yeah. I think he sort of personifies what I would like to see from our list this year in terms of just effort. Like he tries multiple efforts. He has developed, and that's all I really want. Is I want to see blokes that have a crack. They're clearly developing and working with the game style that Scott wants to try and set in stone, but also just tries their nuts off and sort of really sort of gives it their all rather than sort of these flaky blokes. So if I was to sort of personify what I want from a year, it's probably everything that Sam Durham's shown us in his sort of limited career.
I like that. I like that a lot. We'll move on to the full forward line. This is where it gets real exciting. Alwyn Davey Jr., the big 7-seater Peter Wright, and the loosest bloke in Portsea, Archie Perkins. Alwyn Davey Jr., great. We'd love to see it. Father, son, everyone's been saying how amazing he is since he arrived at the club, and he looked bloody good in preseason. Has rightfully earned his spot in round one. Like it's not some we just need to chuck a debut player in there sort of thing. Like he's shown that he's ready to go, which is awesome. What do you guys reckon? Any mail from the old footy factory you guys were a part of back in the day about him?
He's an absolute gun. He's going to kick the first goal of the game. That's it.
There we go. I like that.
How much you putting on it?
I'll probably put 20, surely.
Yeah, bet responsibly.
Always.
I haven't heard much, to be honest, out of the factory, but yeah, from all reports, everyone said he's had a really consistent preseason. It's not just he's talented; he's had a very, very good preseason in terms of his output, consistency, his ability to train, and especially given his brother's track record with injuries, and even Alwyn's injuries, it's great to see a lightweight, fast-paced Aboriginal boy come into the AFL system and flourish. And so hopefully that continues on with how his body develops and he can cope with the rigors of AFL. Yeah,
exactly. Like he's in now, we're going to get 3 or 4 games out of him before he's a bit sore. Like we don't know. I think he would still probably be one of those players that, was affected by COVID interrupting some of his more senior part of junior footy. Like he probably would have been 15, 16, and that's where it starts to get pretty serious. Has that affected him at all? Don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, over the moon. He's definitely going to be a fan favourite. And if he kicks a few sausage rolls on Sunday, the G is going to be humming. Speaking of sausage rolls, the reigning Crichton medalist himself, and someone who can win the Coleman medal if he kicks straight. Big 7-seater Peter Wright. I think he's the number one name on the team sheet right now. He's the first person you're putting in, I reckon. What do you guys think?
He doesn't have much competition. Let's be frank, we're pretty shit. So,
where's that button?
But yeah, I certainly agree. He's one interesting thing I read about him in the preseason was how of a meticulous preparer he is. Before we even had a quasi game against Gold Coast, he was watching film at the club between like 7 and 8 a.m. He was in there early. And I'm not sure which assistant coach said it, but he goes, this bloke's up there with some of the best in the competition with how they physically and mentally prepare for a game, which I was quite taken aback by when I read it, that he does go into incredible depths to prepare for how teams structure up against him, how teams sort of play and move the ball. So that was pleasing to hear that his development wasn't sort of out of the blue, and he's probably was just like starved for opportunity at Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And Obviously, it means that he can get better and better and better, but you hope that sort of thing would rub off on other players. Like, Peter's not old by any stretch, but he would probably be one of the more senior sort of figures of the club. Just, stature alone and the way he goes about it. But for other forwards around him, they'd be like, oh man, if he's, if Sam Wiedemann's sitting there going, man, Peter's putting in this much time, I should be putting in this much time as well if I want to be just as serious. And, if Alwyn Davies hanging out with him in the forward pocket, having a chat when the ball's the other end of the ground, then, that's good guy to learn off. And that's awesome to hear. Like, I love hearing that. I've always heard Dylan Shields a very good preparer and always, ultimate professional. But it's good to hear we've got more of those guys because there's certainly a few blokes we hear rumours of who just rock up, do a calf, and then come back in 6 weeks. So
you can just say Jake Stringer if you want. You can say his name. You don't have to dance around it.
Yeah, we do love Paco. We do love our man Paco. Anything more on Peter Wright, Ryan? Before I keep moving.
No, I just hope he kicks a bag. I'm just interested as to who's going to match up on him and Wiedemann out of Sicily and Frost and how that'll play out. But height wise, he's got everyone covered.
Yeah, he does. He does. As Mert said it the other night, he looks like a dinosaur when you see him in person. He's so big. He is not of this world, which we love. And of course, another fan favourite, Archie Perkins, slotting in there forward pocket. I think we'll see spurts of him in the midfield, but I think he's at the point in his career now where that half forward role is where he plays his best footy. Can he become a full-time midfielder at some point? Maybe, hopefully, who knows? But yeah, hopefully he can straighten up his kicking a little bit this year. And I think he could be on for a really good one. And like a Kyle Langford, be a 20 touches and, a couple of goals type player for us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I actually think we'll see a fair few minutes from him in the midfield. But yeah, I do love his flashes, shrugging tackles in the forward line and kicking snags. So hopefully we see all of that.
His ability to goal assist and make something out of nothing, I think, is something we really need to develop and make use of up the ground. I'd always prioritise him getting minutes around the ball, around the stoppage, being around better players up the field so he can develop into a midfielder because of he's one of the few blokes on our list that I think has X factor that not many others do. And we'd really need to exploit that. And that's how you can really become a very, very good side is by having these guys go through the middle. You look at sort of someone like a Shane Edwards at Richmond and what he was able to do with just his ability to impact things, not a heap, but like 10 to 15 times, and they can generate a lot of scores. And I think he's certainly one of those players with that class level that I hate to see squandered sort of in the forward pocket and he loses sort of a bit of confidence and we just expose him to the highest level.
Yep. And our followers, Sammy Draper, Zach Merritt, Darcy Parish, a few names who are put on the team sheet pretty quickly, I'd imagine. Will just be interesting to see how they go. Actually, no, sorry. These team sheets, I'm looking at 2 different team sheets, and one had Merritt at centre, and the other one's got Setterfield there. So I'll revert back to the one I looked at the start. So Sam Draper, Will Setterfield, Darcy Parish. Love that Will Setterfield has been named as a follower. I like that. It'll be interesting to see how many centre bounces he plays, how many minutes he's going to have there. I do just want to point out that the first comment on our most recent team's post that's gone up said, gee whiz, we are worse than we thought when we have a bloke who can't get a game from Carlton starting in our squad. So thanks, Jess, who commented that. Just so I'd throw that in. But I'm backing Will in. I'm backing him in. I'm hoping he has a really good year. I'm hoping he finds his feet and finds a new home at Essendon. A bigger body around, provide something different when we've got a lot of midfielders who can be pretty similar. So I'm hoping Mr. Setterfield has a good future.
Yeah, I sort of come from 2 schools of thought with Setterfield. One is an example would be Josh Kennedy, the Sydney champion, was at Hawthorn and couldn't get a game because of Sam Mitchell. Setterfield couldn't really get a game at Carlton because of Cripps. my other school of thought is I'm yet to find a good AFL player that's played at 3 clubs. I'm going to go with the Josh Kennedy train of thought for now, and then speak to me mid-season.
Where was he before? Was he a Giants player?
GWS, yeah.
GWS and Carlton.
But then he did tear his ACL in his first year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think he's not in the Jacob Townsend mould. I think he's got a bit more talent. But
hey, Towner was great. Towner, no one ran off the line off a throw in and wrecked a bloke like Towner did. That was one of the best things during that COVID season was just going, all right, there's a ball up. Who is Towner going to absolutely wreck?
Yeah, the sledgehammer with no velvet. I'm optimistic about what he can provide, but I'm not going to sit here and expect the world from him either.
Yep. No, that's totally fair. Darcy Parish, big year. Will he resign? Will he won't? We will wait and see, I guess. If Essendon plays well, who knows? He might stick around. If we have a garbage year, I could understand why he'd leave. And then, of course, the big flying mullet, Sammy Draper himself. Who is the Hawthorn ruckman?
Lloyd Meek. So he's going to have a field day.
Yeah,
Absolute
I reckon
field day. Although
I reckon this could
I've
be
probably mozzed him.
Yeah. So Meek 50 hit outs. There you go. I reckon he could be in for a big day, and I reckon we could see a few big days from Sammy this season as he starts to work his way up the ranks of the top ruckman in the comp. Very excited to see him, and someone who brings the fans is big Sammy Draper. What do you reckon, Ryan?
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really, really big year. Take that next step fitness-wise, more influential around the ground. We know how good he is at his tap work, but I think he's going to have a bigger presence around the ground, potentially snag a few more goals like he did last year. Like was a goal of the year. Did he get it?
I think he did in the end.
Yeah.
Well, it's by popular vote. And if there's one thing Essendon supporters do well,
we vote well.
We vote hard.
We get real nuffy and vote hard.
Yeah, we do.
But I've definitely seen Draper's kicking action get a lot better over the years. His ball drop used to be horrendous, and it's starting to get better. So I think each preseason it progresses, an extra 10-15%. So hopefully it's taken another jump. And he can be more influential kicking around the ground and in front of the big sticks. Yep.
Well said. Extended bench. Let's do this in one group, and I'll read the names out, and then you guys tell me who are the 4+ sub or whatever the fifth person is now. So we've got Jai Caldwell, Will Snelling, Harrison Jones, Nick Martin, Massimo D'Ambrosio, Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody, Jai Menzies, Andrew Phillips. I'll go to you first, Damo. Give me your 4+ the vest.
I'll go Caldwell, D'Ambrosio, Menzies, and Martin.
Okay. I don't mind that. Ryan?
I was going to go the same and then say Snelling as the...
I forgot about the sub.
The sub.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not even just a sub in general. It's not an injury one anymore. So, yep, same. I think Phillips, we don't need a backup ruckman.
No.
Jones just doesn't fit into the forward line with the tools that we've got there. Tipper probably could slightly still be a little bit underdone. I think Menzies has done enough in the preseason and in the preseason games to get a spot. We know what Martin's capable of. I think we're all keen to see Massimo sort of solidify a spot in that half-back line with that absolute cannon of a left foot. And I think we've heard whispers that Caldwell could potentially be doing slightly a little bit of a tagging role this year. So, and he's great in an under player. So I think he'll get the call up. And then Snelling sort of found himself in the vest last year every now and then, but he has had an injury.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad year.
2 seasons now, probably, or it was just the one season. So
it was definitely last year, yeah.
Maybe they'll
back-to-back calf.
Yeah, so maybe they'll just slowly integrate him into AFL football with limited minutes.
Yeah, I would have Caldwell and Nick Martin as absolute 100% locks, and then I think it's either D'Ambrosio, Snelling, Menzies for those other 2 spots. Jones, I'm just not sure if they're going to go with the 3 3 talls. Like I feel like you could lose a lot, and if you're going to play someone as a hybrid half forward, or as someone as a half forward on form, I'd almost rather take Kyle Langford. To be honest, on form, like I know Jones, we think there's this huge potential there, and it could be there, but right now I think that just gives you a bit more. But yeah, Tipper needs more time, and then Flip is there in case Peter or Wiedemann or Draper rolls their ankle in the warm up. That's basically
there's definitely huge potential in Jones. I just think he's been in another interrupted preseason or two as well.
Yeah.
How good is this? The AFL website has notable absentees, and ours is Jake Stringer, and Hawthorn's is Harry Morrison. I have absolutely no idea who that is.
I don't know, and I know who Mitch Lewis is.
Yeah, is Harry Morrison the vice captain, or is that something? Dylan Moore? Dylan Moore's their vice captain. Found that out the other day.
Stop it, smart.
Yeah,
Damo.
yeah. Well, this leads into my next question, which was who are the key figures in the yellow and brown that we may want to keep an eye out for? I was going to say I'll go mine. Is Giath off the halfback flank has ripped us apart once or twice and loves to punish a lazy half forward player, which we've had many in our time at Essendon. So I wouldn't mind seeing someone. I'm not sure if anyone can match him for like just out and out pace, but wouldn't mind someone. Maybe it's even a Snelling, or if he's in the squad, or maybe Menzies even just being a little bit. All right, where is he? Sort of thing.
Could be Durham as well.
Yep, could be Does. Does is a good call as well.
Could do a little bit of a defensive forward role on him.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a serious weapon for them coming out of halfback, as we have seen in the past. Ryan, who's yours?
Sicily's a big one. Sicily, just as much as everyone hates him, and I hate him quite a fair bit.
He's a gun.
He's bloody good.
Yeah.
So I think he's a big one, and probably Giant Newcomb. He's, in terms of how damaging he can be with clearances, I think that's what concerns me the most. I think around the grounds doesn't bother me. It's just at the stoppages.
Yeah. I also found out that they call him Duke Nukem, which I love. So I don't know, just want to throw that in there. I reckon that's a mint nickname. So I just wanted to throw that in. It's a sick nickname. Damo, any player on that list?
Their list is so bad.
We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose to the shit.
Like, that's why I'm so petrified. Is because I look at their list. They've got a guy called James Blank, for crying out loud.
James Blank.
But probably CJ and Sicily are probably the only two I'd say are remotely close to A graders. Will Day's got potential, but it's not a good list. They're very, very young. When you're young and you're up and about, you can pull games out of your ass, and round one's a good time to do it. But that's why I'm nervous. But that team posted is not good.
No. I'll tell you, here's a name that I completely forgot about. Former Port Adelaide player, not Chad Wingard, Carl Amon. Carl Amon is someone who he's an outside player, don't get me wrong. He loves a lot of junk outside ball, but he's a very good user and can punish you on the right day. So I'd be a little bit wary about Carl Amon. Luke Bruce still playing. Surprising. I thought he retired. I don't even know who half these people are. Oh, Warple, he's done it. Ned Reeves, don't know who that is.
Ned Reeves is a guy that's about...
he's that massive bloke?
Yeah, he's like 2.5 centimeters and he has 2 left feet.
2.5 centimeters. Great analysis as always. Boys, I'll get some predictions for you so we can wrap up, because I know you're both itching to go watch the first game of the season. I'm sure most of our listeners will be on Thursday evening and then tuning into this on a Friday.
Dusty kicked the first goal. There you go.
There we go. I hope Richmond win. All right, Damo, give me your result. Give me best on, and give me first goal.
We'll go Davey first goal based off Ryan's hot tip. I'll say Nick Martin best on. I'll say we win by 19 points. We're not convincing, and I won't feel confident about us winning until there's about 12 seconds left in the game.
I like it. I like it. Ryan?
I'm thinking we win by 15 points. Davey first goal, obviously. And I reckon Merritt potentially best on, but I think it could be Draper.
I like that. I like that. I'll go Bombers by 25. I'll go the big chufter to kick the first goal, Sammy Wiedemann.
Nice.
And I'll go Dylan Shield for best on. He's game 200. He has a big day. Gets 30 plus and is very good with ball in foot. So there we go. Just quickly before we wrap up, listeners, if you haven't seen already, we have some new merch available. Our Go Planes beanies and scarves are officially in the store. We also have a big 7-seater Peter design, which I think, have you boys both seen that one? Or have I not seen it?
I have.
Yeah. So the 7-seater Peter is looking real good. And of course, the Go Planes. Unfortunately, our caps were delayed because there's supply issues bonanza in Australia these days. So it was very hard to get our caps sorted in time for round one, but they're coming in April. So if you're a cap person and not a beanie person, hang out for one of those. Or if you want, you can get a bundle where you get the cap, the scarf, and the beanie, and it saves you like $20 if you get them all at once. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I know you like a bargain.
Yeah, with the current cash issue and like the Reserve Bank not being friendly, $20 goes a long way.
It does. Bargain. It does. That's a pint at the G, maybe two if you're in the right part of the ground. Thank you as always, everyone. We'll be back on Monday for our first official review. Our Thursday show will then be going to premium members only. So if you haven't signed up and you want to keep hearing the preview shows throughout the season, find the premium podcast link on all of our social media pages. Show's also on YouTube on Mondays. So if you like the YouTube, I've also created TikTok. So if you're like 12 years old and you've got a TikTok, there's a TikTok where I'm just sticking podcast highlights on. Maybe I'll do some videos on there one day. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll convince Mert to do a dance for us and we'll put it up there. That'd be pretty good. Do you either of you have TikTok?
No, I don't.
No.
I'm 30. I'm 33.
Yeah. So that's a yes. That's a yes, he does. That's a yes, he does, and just doesn't tell the wife. Anyway, thanks for
married
listening.
and 33, and of course I have TikTok.
Yeah. Thanks as always, everyone, for listening or watching if you're on the YouTube. Again, make sure you hit up all those links for the merch. Make sure you subscribe if you want to support the show. Thanks to everyone as always. Thanks to our sponsors. I can't think of anything else, to be honest. That's all, and up the plains, go Bombers.
Go Dons.
Dons footy, baby.